Entrepreneurship is a mindset, and on the Entrepreneur's Blueprint, we'll be dissecting this mindset, the successes, the struggles, and even the failures of entrepreneurs to help with your own entrepreneurial journey. I'm your host, Justin Castelli, and I'm the founder of RLS Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor in Fishers, Indiana. In some of these episodes, we'll cover various financial planning, investment, and business planning topics. This information should be considered educational and not considered advice or a recommendation. You should consult your financial advisor or tax professional regarding your personal situation. And now that that's out of the way, let's get to the latest episode of the Entrepreneur's Blueprint.
I'll pick a CrossFit.com workout or a benchmark workout. We try to get in something I learned at the level 2. Try to get 52 benchmarks in a year. Okay. So that being, let's test a max effort lift. Let's test a girl named WOD. Okay. Let's test a hero WOD. Or maybe something that we've created as far as a benchmark for our community, and then we will test and retest. So I have a handful of them, and it could be anything basic from just a single modality thing like, hey, 30 muscle ups for time, or it could be, hey, we're going to do a 1K row for time, or it could be a couple of different exercises together. Maybe something that we put together like, hey, I think 30 clean and jerks at 185 pounds and a 30 cal bike sprint is a good test for us in the gym for one reason or the other. So we'll maybe have that and then revisit it at some point.
How many gyms are 30 clean and jerks at 185 is a good test for our gym?
See, this is why we have our different levels.
Right.
This is why we have our what we call our beginner, intermediate, and our RX, and then we have our games track, our RX plus variations, because we have to find the right weight to create the stimulus for people. And really, it has to be about mechanics first, technique first, consistency with the movement. How consistent not only are you with the movement in the workout, but how consistently are you practicing that movement on a day-to-day basis in the gym or at home if you do some training at home. And we're not just going to throw 185 pounds on the bar. Even if you're strong enough to do it, you have to be efficient, because we don't want you to get hurt and we don't want you to lose the integrity of the stimulus of the workout that we're trying to create. So 185 pounds, yeah, that's a challenge. I mean, when you say it, it's a moderate heavy load. It's not 225.
Right.
Yeah, so people look at that and be like, I can do it, but I'm going to slow down a lot. So it's like, okay, where can we push the button? Somebody might be able to do 135 pounds, and they can do it at a pretty good pace, even if it's one at a time. Drop the bar, pick it back up, go again, and get 30 clean and jerks done in under 2 minutes, doing it that way. So the next challenge is, maybe we push 155. How quickly can I do that? Well, I can still get that done in under 3.5 minutes. All right, well, let's push 185. That's your next challenge. But if I didn't create the challenge, or CrossFit.com didn't create the challenge, or the CrossFit Games didn't create the challenge, or your training partner didn't create a challenge for you, how would you know what your full capacity is, or what you're capable of doing? And that's where the challenge is. We want people to be like, ooh, 185, I don't know about that. And then,
go do it.
Give it a go. Give it a go, as long as it's safe.
So you got this beautiful facility that we're doing this in now, but that wasn't where it always started. So you started in your garage, right? Give us the history of CrossFit Three Kings.
We did.
I'm sorry, Three Kings Athletics.
Let's take it way back.
Okay.
So you can get an idea of where CrossFit was implanted in my brain as this is the training program for athletes.
Okay.
I was stationed overseas from 2004. Well, my wife was stationed overseas from 2004 to 2007 in England. And while I was there, I got hired as a contract fitness specialist. I was basically a trainer for military, not only special forces teams, but just active duty in general. I actually had some civilian clients that I trained as well. And I did nutrition. While we were there in 2005, I had a meeting with the exercise physiologist, and he asked me if I had ever heard of CrossFit, and I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. He said, well, I just got back from Germany, and we were with a special forces team, a pararescue team, and everybody was asking about CrossFit. They looked at the website. They have these workouts that are really short and really intense, and they're really competitive, and it really related to just their mindset, their personality of really trying to have a new challenge and push themselves to, a point where they were under a lot of stress. And so he said, do you mind testing out some of the workouts from the CrossFit.com website and just seeing what your impression of it is And so I said, hey, why not? Oh, well, I'm always up for a new challenge. Let's give it a shot. So I grabbed one of my buddies, and a Brazilian friend of mine, and we tried some of the workouts. And getting into the workouts, I thought, hey, these are tough, but I don't understand the methodology behind it. They're really short and sweet, and I feel like I'm almost running a 400 and 800 meter sprint as hard as I can, and then I'm done for the day. And that was unconventional, the training that we had done. And I also didn't know if it related to some of the military, because they're going on these missions, climbing in the mountains, for 2 to 3 months at a time, and I didn't know if the durability they would be prepared for the endurance aspect of it. In a combat fight that maybe lasts 12 minutes, that's fine, but that usually is not how they work, right? They're usually a lot longer than that. So I didn't know sustainability-wise how it was. But I knew that it would change physiology. So after trying workouts, we stuck with it, but I still continue to mix in just conventional training. I'd still run 10 miles. I'd still have the guys run 10 miles. I would still lift conventional weights. It's chest day today, or we're going to do a massive leg day today. And still sprinkling in some CrossFit. And I started to get a little bit better with it, but I scaled all the weights, didn't know proper technique on a lot of the movements, and there was not really anyone to teach me. There was no coach, and I was trying to implement this to the people I was working with, but I didn't have a coach to coach me, so how was I supposed to coach them on some of the more complex movements? So we dialed things way back. A lot of video instruction on CrossFit.com, which is a great resource. The CrossFit Journal is a great resource to go to when you're looking for weightlifting or anything in the gymnastics, area or anything like that. So I continued to do it for a couple years. We ended up moving back to DC. Then I started to get a little bit more involved with it. I had some friends that wanted to get more involved with CrossFit. And when I went to finally do my level 1 in Virginia Beach in 2007 is when I realized, hey, this is it. This is what I want to do. I'm going to solely focus on this. I learned the methodology from a very surface level. I was at a level 1, so we're not going too in depth with this. I'm not getting a graduate degree in exercise physiology at this point or anything. This is just like what the CrossFit methodology is, what functional fitness is, how we're taking people from a sickness to wellness, wellness to fitness state in the continuum that Greg Glassman talks about, and how can we use this new training methodology to get people fit, healthy, and functional. So 2007 went all in, and we ended up moving back to Indiana in 2008 when my wife got pregnant with our third child. When I got here, I went back into the Globo Gym setting and immediately saw that I wasn't happy. It wasn't fun. It wasn't competitive. I have a sports background with soccer and basketball, and CrossFit was a way to create this competitiveness against other peers and the clock. The clock is your opponent at that point. So we just didn't have that in the Lifetime Fitness, the LA Fitnesses, the YMCA. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do this in my garage. The garage gyms were big. They were pushed heavily on CrossFit.com because it was a new kind of outlaw style training. It's not this boutique-y feel. So we built the gym in the garage. I affiliated in April of 2009, and my goal was to get 100 people involved in CrossFit. If I can get 100 people involved training with me in CrossFit as our single sole identity, and that's important for how we've evolved. We were just doing CrossFit. We were just using the CrossFit methodology. And so I had a few people that started coming over. We had built it up to within 5 months, up to 50 people coming to the gym. As a matter of fact, I remember a story.
And that's your garage.
It was in the garage.
To your house, your garage, running down the street. Okay.
Yeah, we're in the garage. It's a 600 square foot garage, and we have at one point in the September's coming. It's getting cold. I said, we got to get out of here, and I really need to find a space. I didn't know I was going to have that much of a following that quickly. Well, we found a space, and it was not available until April. Okay. So I had to get through the winter. And I specifically remember at one point during the winter, it was into December, we had 23 people in the garage. To the point it was 0 degrees outside and 150 15 degrees inside. So we had to open the doors up and push people outside. And fortunately, the driveway's clear and we could do some things outside. But it was at that point where I thought, you know what? I think we're going to get to our 100 goal. I think we're going to at some point hit it. We're getting closer. And, that was a really cool experience just to have people come to your home, experience the workouts with you. My wife was in there. We offered childcare. We had 2 small children and she was pregnant with our third, and we welcomed parents to bring their children in, and she would get them all in the playroom and watch them there. And I think that that's where that community feel of CrossFit and some of these group class gyms across the country, whether it's CrossFit or not, when you're welcoming family members, you're welcoming kids in, and you're providing a service that is very community feel. That's how you grow. That's where your passion is. That's when it starts to really click, like, hey, this isn't just a business. This is more than just running a business. And I didn't get in it to run a business. I wanted to do what I believed in, but I never really got into it to be a millionaire. That wasn't the idea. The idea was, how can we help as many people as possible and get them to experience the joys of fitness and community that we were feeling. And we were able to establish that in the garage. And when we left the garage, the one thing we said was, we can't lose this community feel. We can't get too big, and we can't lose the integrity of reaching every member that walks in the door. And so that's it's a blessing and a curse in a way. I think we'll talk more about that as the business expands in this, but you want to help as many people as possible, but do you have the time, effort, energy to be able to help them? Right.
Not without hiring.
Right. And training and trusting and you have to be able to step back and let your employees that have learned under you be able to continue that. So you've got to preach exactly. You just got to start at the top, right? Leadership starts at the top, and they have to do it your way with being able to have the freedom and the flexibility to speak the way they want to speak, to coach the way they want to coach, to freestyle in the classes on certain movements and things that they've learned, maybe not from you, but outside sources. And that's what we have to grow as a business. We have to be willing to educate ourselves. I have to be willing to say, you know what, I want to take a class from one of my other coaches and learn. I want them to take a class from one of the other coaches and learn a new thing. And that's how you continue to grow and evolve as a staff and as a community. If we constantly are giving you the same things and give you the same cues over and over again, well, you're only going to get so far.
Right.
So it's good that we were able to get the coaches to, kind of have this idea of entrepreneurship within the gym, right? They're building their brand or their personality or their coaching ideologies or some things that they've learned within the gym that I'm not afraid to let them preach to the members. So I think it's been it's helping me find a balance. As owning a business, it takes a lot of time and effort, and having people that you trust to work with the members, service the members properly, and lead the classes with integrity and respect the members coming in and really make sure that they're getting their service. That's a hard thing to do when you're stepping back, but it's important to do to grow. There's no way we would be this large, have this large of a community if it wasn't for all the coaches that I have.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to pause just for a second and let you just debrief, because you just dropped a lot of nuggets in there. Like, I want listeners to go back and rewind that first, 15 minutes in? In that first 15 minutes, you hit so many important things that I think we'll hit on some of the questions further on, but the ones I wanted to highlight and make sure people hear were, first off, you started small. I think a lot of times entrepreneurs want to jump out and get to the end product right away, and you kind of need that proof of concept process. So the garage was the proof of concept. Then you built from there and kind of slowly. Like, the facility you're in today is not when you went to from the garage. Like, you went to garage, intermediate, and now you've gotten bigger. So it's kind of easing into it and making sure. I always say that entrepreneurship requires a leap of faith. And if you can shorten that leap as much as possible, you'll never get two sides together, But through savings and planning and proof of concept, you can make that leap a lot shorter and easier to make it to the other side. And that's what I think that was. So passion's a huge one. As a business owner, if you're not already and you're listening to this, owning a business takes a lot of your time, like time, but mental time, emotional time on top of all that. So you've got to be passionate about it. Otherwise, you're going to fold up and close shop, because it's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be fun. And I think that's why a lot of businesses don't succeed, is people think it's a good idea, but they're not passionate about it. And eventually, you're going to have enough hurdles to overcome that make you walk away because you're not passionate. Trust, so trusting your employees. That's a very hard thing to do. And initially, the first few times you give that trust and you walk away and let them take over, there's always going to be something that goes wrong. It's going to test that trust. Like, it never fails. Like, they'll prove themselves as long as you're there side by side, and the one time you're not there, that's when something that you wouldn't want to have happen happens. But that's how people learn. Like, they've got to learn through experience. And most of the time, I think those problems to the business owner are a big deal, but in the grand scheme of things, they end up being okay. It's just so much more dramatic to us as the business owner, because that's the first time we trusted and it didn't go the way we wanted it to. Allowing your coaches to be entrepreneurs. One of the things I want to stress to people through this series and the writing is that you don't have to be a business owner to be an entrepreneur. You can be entrepreneurial within the structure of another firm. And I think that's important. So have a brand. I'm big on branding and have an identity. I think that's smart. A lot of businesses want the brand and the identity to be the business, the Three Kings Athletics. But I think it's wise to allow your coaches or your employees or your leaders to have their own brand and identity within the structure. So meaning their messaging all lines up. Everybody's telling the same story, but they're telling it in their own ways. Like, all of your coaches have different personalities, which is great because some people may like one over the other, and now they can come to that coach, and you're able to meet a lot of new clients, rather than if we had a bunch of Bryns, that could be a good thing or a bad thing. But now you've got a bunch of different people. And then the final one was being able to step back and just take a look at your business and figure out where do you need to go. I think that ties into the branding that you've done. So you started out as CrossFit Indy North, because you're north side of Indiana. Then it was Three Kings CrossFit, and now it's Three Kings Athletics. So talk a little bit about the evolution and why you did that, because in my mind it makes total sense why you would go that direction, but I want to see if what I'm thinking is why you did it.
Yeah, I think that it's an absolute necessity as your growth as a business to be willing to accept change, want to change, and want to grow. I mean, change is growth, right?
Right.
And so what happens is, and if we step back a little bit when we talk about people that are coming in to be entrepreneurs, passion is huge, but you have to establish an identity. So in the fitness realm, you can have different identities. For us, it's easy. We're CrossFit. It's a CrossFit gym. And when we started, we do CrossFit, and that's our soul. That's the only thing that we were doing. So people that were looking for CrossFit knew, okay, CrossFit Indy North, which is what we started. Well, is what we started with as our name. We knew we were going to be on the north side of Indianapolis, but we didn't know exactly what suburb we were going to be in, whether it be Noblesville, Fishers, Carmel. We weren't sure, but we knew that we wanted to be on the north side, and so we were in the garage. So we called it Indy North, and we knew that we would branch out and find a space, and then we would talk about the name from there. So having the identity was huge. So we had the CrossFit branding and identity. We move, and we affiliated in 2009. 2013, we were 4 years in, and CrossFit's starting to grow around the community. Now, CrossFit is not a franchise; it's an affiliate. So you have individually owned and operated. You're only allowed to be the affiliate holder of one facility.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can only have one facility. So the way you can own more is if you have this entrepreneur concept, where we give our coaches an opportunity to grow as business owners, to let them learn not only the coaching side but the business side, and then do we want to expand and open another facility and basically become partners on it, and then that affiliate's in their name. Gotcha. And that's what we've done. And so it gives them a good opportunity to do that. So we knew if we wanted some growth, we would have to go that way as well. The issue that we were running into was in 2013 with the growth of CrossFit. We were getting south side locations, east side locations, west side locations that were all had the name Indy,
right?
You know? And we would have people reaching out to CrossFit and say, hey, I want to try out your east side location, your south side location, your west side location. And I said, that's great. I'm glad you're interested in CrossFit. I'd be more than happy to give you the number, but we're not them. That's not our brand. So I decided that we needed to rebrand so that we had an identity, not only as a CrossFit gym, but as a branding, as a business. And I have 3 boys, and I always call them my 3 kings. And I'm British, and it's just, it's kind of in the, in the culture. So we decided to potentially change the branding to 3 Kings. And I actually spoke with Kathy Glassman at headquarters, and she said, you have to do it. It's a great move. It gives you a strong branding. It's a good, strong name.
Right.
And we decided to change it. We changed it. And now people that were reaching out to us were just reaching out for 3 Kings, contacting 3 Kings about coming to 3 Kings. And that is what we needed to have happen if we wanted to build our own affiliate, not necessarily, we want the CrossFit community to grow, but at the end of the day, I can't service those people that are going to other gyms, so we need to worry about growing our business. So that's how we came to 3 Kings.
Which I love, because RLS is my 3 boys. It's my company name, so I appreciate the naming after the kids.
And I love that because, again, I'm passionate about that. That's something that motivates me and drives me as a business owner and as a role model and a leader is my boys, my family. I don't want to let them down. I want to make sure that they understand the hard work and the effort and the time that puts in, and I want them to use me as an example, whether that be positive or in negative situations that maybe I can't handle the situation as well as I wanted to. It's a failure situation. It's a great opportunity for growth. And so they see that. I'm very transparent with that. They see it. They're in here with me on a daily basis. And so they are the reason, my family is the reason why I continue to push. And so you're the same way. That's what you're passionate about. It's just like getting a tattoo, right? A lot of times people are getting tattoos because they want a branding on them that makes them remember something that's really important to them. And it's the same kind of concept. It's just on the outside of my building instead of on my skin.
Right. So talk about the brand from CrossFit to athletics, because I think you talked about welcoming change, and I think for entrepreneurs, I think being complacent is a scary thing. And I think from my mindset, from an outsider, seeing you go from CrossFit to athletics and what all that encompassed, that was the avoiding being complacent and getting passed up by other people. So talk about that change, because I think that's important.
Yeah,
the
so
evolution.
CrossFit, you have to be willing to come in and try it out to understand that it is for everyone. It just is what your personality type is and if you like it or not. And CrossFit doesn't appeal to everyone. So we can continue to grow, but I think that sometimes people need that little push, or they need that introduction to try a new challenge. So we wanted to figure out ways that we could get other people into the door without being afraid of the word CrossFit or intimidated by the word CrossFit. The other thing was, let's rewind back to 2009 when I affiliated. 800 affiliates in the world. 2011, when Reebok CrossFit Games kind of take over, it hits this huge surge and more people get involved with it because now it's more it's on TV, right? It's Reebok's running these big campaign ads. It is social media platforms are getting huge, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and so it's in front of people more, and it continues to grow to the point a few years ago where I think we were coming up on 14,000 affiliates around the world. And now I think we're around 15. Well, when we get to 14,000, and then the growth starts to slow down a little bit. And a couple, 2-3 years later, you're only seeing another 1,000. Some of that's from probably gyms that have closed the doors, and you're going to have that. But there was a huge increase in the growth of CrossFit affiliates around the world, and then I feel like it's kind of plateaued. I don't know the exact numbers, but that's kind of the sense and feeling that I got. Plus oversaturation in the market. There's how many CrossFit gyms in our area alone? 25. Plus people at your conventional gyms at LA Fitness and the Y, they're doing CrossFit, whether they call it a CrossFit or not. It's general physical preparedness. You're doing weightlifting, gymnastics, monostructural. You're putting these workouts together in various functional movements that are executed at appropriate intensity or high intensity, and everybody's doing it. So there's a lot of saturation within the market. We're not getting everybody to come into our doors because there may be a CrossFit that's down the street from their house and it's more convenient. And that makes sense to me, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we don't lose integrity of the levels of coaching that you're experiencing when you're walking through the door, service in general. And
certain levels are different for different people, just like different programs are different for various people. And so CrossFit doesn't work for everybody. We don't just do CrossFit, right? CrossFit is not all that you necessarily need to do if you're a soccer player, you're a football player, or you had a back injury or a knee injury or something like that. Maybe you need a lower impact variation. So we started this program that we call Beats Fitness, which is heart rate monitored, so we can see real time your heart rate, where it is, so we can make sure we're training in certain zones to make sure you're not overtraining or going too anaerobic. We want to make sure that you see real-time calories because that's motivating for people. And that was another program that we offered. And since we've started offering that, we have a lot of people that come in the door to try it. And after 3 months or so, they're like, you know what? I think I want to give CrossFit a try. I want to lift a little bit more weight. Or it's not as intimidating. I feel like I'm in better shape. This was a great introductory program to it. If we never would have changed from CrossFit to athletics, people would have only saw us at a CrossFit identity, and they wouldn't have understood that there are other avenues to get yourself involved in fitness or things that are aspects of the CrossFit program that you like, and that maybe you can be encouraged, or you'll take that extra initiative to say, you know what, I want to challenge myself to lift a little bit of weight, or I want to learn this a proper flipping upside down and doing a handstand hold or whatever it is. And that's that has helped us a lot in the CrossFit growth. The other thing that we have is youth programs, speed and agility, sport performance. I have 3 boys that play soccer. They need to be able to move laterally, to have fast feet, different planes, plyometrics, and all those things transfer out onto the field. So we've added those programs as well. If we just said CrossFit, no one's walking in the door.
Exactly.
But when we rebranded to athletics and offered more programs, now people are walking by, they see athletics on the door, or they go to our website and they see athletics. They know we have a CrossFit program. That's our identity. Everybody knows that. It's a strong brand. And now they can come in and do other programs. And so we have been able to grow our membership greatly. And if I wasn't willing to change or be willing to grow through other avenues of fitness or other specialty programs, we'd be stagnant, you know? And I just think that, we want to touch more people than just the people that want to do a CrossFit workout. We're trying to create a bigger community for that.
I also look at it as diversification. If you have everything tied to CrossFit, and I don't know your feelings, we don't do this on this podcast, about the changes to the CrossFit Open and the games. Let's just say Glassman, since he's 100% control, goes off the deep end, ruins CrossFit's brand. How do you, if you're only all in on CrossFit, how do you protect yourself? But now everybody knows, if you're listening to this outside of Indy, Three Kings is one of the top gyms. Everybody knows it's competitive. If you go here, you're going to get a good workout. We were talking about beforehand doing 185 where most gyms would be doing 135, 115 on the barbell. It's a very good brand when it comes to CrossFit. So you don't even need that CrossFit in your name anymore. But if that were to happen, now you've got the Olympic lifting, you've got Beats. You could still do CrossFit type workouts, just change the name as well. And I think that you've protected yourself as a business owner from letting somebody else damage your reputation if that were ever to happen. Now, I have no reason to think it will, but I just look at how do I, as a business owner, protect myself and control as much of my destiny as possible. For me, in my business, it's all me. I'm basically the only person who can mess things up. You have a lot of control over yours, but if you were all in CrossFit and something happened to CrossFit, that could impact your business.
Absolutely could. And that's exactly why one of the reasons why we decided to rebrand to athletics. We are still affiliated with CrossFit, and we always will be, because I believe in the methodology. I love the program. And let's be honest, it's my livelihood. I mean, it's gotten me to where I am in the fitness world. And I think that without that, I don't know where I would be, and so I would still be trying to find it. I'd probably be a coach. I'm a coach. I'd probably be a soccer or basketball coach, to be honest with you. But I think that CrossFit's given me a couple of different avenues to help people, whether it be the sport of fitness with the CrossFit Games or, and that's 5% of our membership, right? But everybody else that comes into the gym, the general population, getting them ready for different things. And if we had not rebranded and expanded, and something did happen to CrossFit, which we just talked about that rapid growth in CrossFit, and then it seemed like it kind of leveled off a little bit. Well, that's a warning sign to me, right? In any business, it's like, okay, wait a minute. Are they coming in because they want to do CrossFit? Or are members coming in because they want to do CrossFit? Are they coming in because they want to coach? They want to train with Bryn, or they want to train with Alex or Skylar or any of our other coaches. We had to create a brand and a business as a fitness facility that offers CrossFit.
Right.
Not a CrossFit gym where you don't know the people, the coaches. So people need to come in and see us, and if they're happy with coming in to see us, it really doesn't matter what program we offer. You know, that is the first step of owning a business. You have to have good customer service.
Right.
And so we focus on service first, giving people what they need and what they want, and then we go from there.
So before we get to the list of questions that every guest gets, what's the vision for Three Kings Athletics going forward?
I think it's always the same as it has been, and that's just create a community that wants to be healthy, that's willing to challenge themselves, and is willing to support other people, and then motivate others to find a fitness community to help them reach their goals. And that's our vision. That really is what we try to do. It's a business, but that's not why I started. That's not what I'm passionate about. That's not what drives me to be successful. It's getting people healthy and well. It's helping challenge themselves, because that challenged me. If I'm creating a challenge for you, I'm creating a challenge for myself to help you get there. And then it's finding that supportive community. Going back to day one, I used to have that mindset of being able to just like, I want music off, I want to be alone in this gym, and I want to hit a workout. And the coaches saw that, and the members see that, right? And now I can still do that, but I don't have as much fun with that. I want to get involved and do a class. I want to work out with some buddies. And I think everybody gets to that point sometime where they need that motivation and that drive. And you can push yourself a lot harder when you're training with other people. Totally. That's why people come into the gym, right? In that community feel. So that's our vision. Our goals off of the vision, initially we talked about 100 members. I just wanted to try to get 100 people. Well, now our goal in the next 2 years is to get to 1,000 active members.
That's awesome.
And the ebbs and flows of fitness are, you're going to gain some, you're going to lose some, and this is what it is. And we always want to make sure that people are welcome back, whether they want to try something else or you know, hey, I'm going to take 6 months to try to get ready for this Ironman or this triathlon or this 5K run, or I'm going to join a basketball league. We want you to do that. I encourage that. So let's make sure that those people find a couple days a week where they can get in here and train, or are feeling welcome to come back in and train and help grow, or refer other people to come in, knowing that, hey, this is always going to be a welcoming community for whatever you're trying to do. That's our goal.
Okay. So let's get to the questions that everybody gets. So this is just kind of, I won't say it's rapid fire. You take as long as you need to answer all the questions, but these will probably move through, because the answers to these questions are probably less passionate about than what we just went through. I do think that your passion comes through, obviously. Like, if you watch this video on YouTube, you're going to see how animated you are and how excited you get, but you can hear it when you talk about it. And I think that is the reason for your success. So, sidebar, before we get to those questions, I'm a big believer in doing things for the right reasons, being genuine in everything that you do, and I think that leads to success. And I think that's why you've been able to build this to where it is because you weren't doing this. You're doing it to start a business, but you weren't doing it, to your point, to become a millionaire. You were doing it because you wanted to help people, and you were passionate about that, and you were genuinely starting because that's what you wanted to do. You didn't set out with the end mind saying, okay, I want to have this big facility and be pushing to 1,000. I want 100 members. I want to impact 100 people's lives and go from there. And you did it the right way for the right reasons, and then here we sit today. So I always want to make sure that I come back to that, because I'm a big believer. That's in my core, and it's one of those things that's hard to measure. And you're not going to read that in a entrepreneurship book. You're not going to be taught that in an entrepreneurship class, that you need to be genuine. It's going to be numbers and spreadsheets and tracking everything and KPIs, when all those things are important. But I think if you're doing things for the right reasons, all of those metrics pan out to be where they need to be. So sidebar aside, let's go through the questions. What's the one thing you wish you knew when you're first getting started?
How to run a business. I think it's pretty straightforward. I mean, here's the thing. I found what I was passionate about early. I went to school to be I started school to be an ophthalmologist. Okay. And then I wanted to be an optometrist because I realized I don't know if I want to go through that much schooling, to do it. Well, that automatically was a red flag to me, saying I'm not really passionate about that. If I'm not really willing to go that extra school time and and take, the extra sacrifice that it took to get there. Was that really my passion? So that already had a red flag. And then when I got closer to optometry school, I still was very passionate about that. I just had some situations, quite frankly, 9/11 happened, and my wife is, a law enforcement agent and had an opportunity to go to the Pentagon, and it was a great career move for her, so we followed her. We were engaged at the time. No optometry school close, didn't want to be away from her.
Right.
What am I going to do? I'm passionate about fitness. I was already helping people out, so that's what we did. Decided to get my master's degree in nutrition to work in the clinical setting, and all those things I was passionate about. The problem was I didn't know how to run a business.
Right.
So I've been meeting with business owners and with a lot of children that are in high school, that are getting ready to go to college. And the thing that I tell them is, you might not find what your passion is today or maybe in your entire 4 years of undergrad, but you need to be thinking about having multiple skills that will allow you to grow in whatever avenue career-wise you decide to do. I wish I would have got at least a minor degree in business.
Yeah.
I wish I would have had a minor in business, just because it would have helped me organize from the get-go how to run a business. It might have been good, it might have been bad. I think one of the reasons we've been successful, and you've talked about it, is just my passion for helping people, caring about people, and spending as much time out on the floor with people as opposed to behind a computer or at home or in an office. And when we designed this gym, that was one of the big stipulations, and I fought everybody on this, is I don't want a closed-off office. I want an open format office where you literally can walk up to me and ask me a question at any time. I don't want a door. I want people to see me and be able to approach me, because that's not in my nature to necessarily be a businessman. Is that the best move, or is that the best move for growth? I don't know. But you know what? I'm happy with where we've come.
Right.
And so
I don't think you're going to grow anymore if you had a closed door. Like, I think you got to build it to what fits you and your personality, because that allows you to be yourself. Another buzzword of mine is authentic. Like, you've got to be you. And if you is being visible, then okay, maybe you get interrupted a handful of times more. Maybe you have to do a little bit more work later at night, but that's best. So I don't think there's a right answer. I think the right answer is what works best for you.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
So talking about decisions and the not having a door, what's the best decision you've made regarding Three Kings Athletics?
Well, it was rebranding to athletics.
Okay.
And it was being open to opinion, change, and growth. I've always been like that. Whatever your stance is politically, religiously, what you think about on anything, I'm not one to jump in and judge or criticize or debate. I want to hear your point. I want to hear what you have to offer. I want to try it out. I want to test it. I want to see if it makes sense. And if it makes sense and it works, well, then I'm in. But if you give me an opinion, or you give me some ideologies on, let's just say in the fitness realm, and I try it out and it just doesn't work, well, then it just doesn't make sense. But I'm not gonna criticize you for it. So I think that when we changed to athletics, it gave, what it was letting the community know is that we accept everyone. We don't just accept CrossFit athletes. And that's how you build a community.
What's the hardest part about being an entrepreneur and business owner?
I think accessibility. I think making yourself accessible at all times, 24 hours, is a bless. That's kind of that could be a curse in a way, But being accessible and letting people know that you're always available is welcoming.
Right.
It's a blessing in the fact that that people know you're willing to help them out. You want to help them change at any time of the day. It can be tough at times because you always have to be on. And you always have to be willing to answer that question or take that phone call or return that email. I'm not a we'll return your call within 24 hours. I'm a we'll return your call within 24 minutes.
Right. And
your text message within 24 seconds.
Right.
And that's kind of how I live. But that's because I want to make sure that these people are taken care of and that they know that I care. So does it always happen? No, not always, because it's just if I'm out on the floor coaching or there's a long line of emails and we get distracted or pull back, but we're always going to get to it as quickly as possible. And I think that's the toughest part, is trying to find that balance and trying to find that balance between accessibility. Blessing and a curse.
Yeah. So what's the best piece of advice you've received that's impacted your journey?
Be patient. You have to take time. Dreams don't become true overnight. Anyone that, especially in today's age with social media, and you can easily open up a post and see someone doing really well. Just on that post, are they really doing well?
Probably not.
Are they really doing well? Are they posting it because they want people to think they're doing well so they feel better about themselves? Gratification. And I really do believe that that's not the way to become successful. You have to be patient. You have to outwork and outlast other people. It's in sports. I'm a big sports guy. And if you think that when you're down 3-1 in the NBA Finals that it's over, you're in the wrong. You shouldn't be playing.
Right.
You're going to fight till the end in everything that you do. And so, it's not going to happen in one game. You got to win all 3 games. You have to be patient. You have to, every single possession that you have is really important. Every single business move or conversation or email or text, the way it's written, the way it's punctuated, the way that it's addressed, the tone, those are all extremely important in the growth of your business. And it doesn't happen in one email. It doesn't happen in one day. It doesn't happen in a year or 3 years. It's been 10 years to get to this point.
Right.
And we're not even close to where we want to be, right? We're going to continue to grow. So I think patience is really, really, really important.
All right, so what's one piece of advice you'd offer aspiring entrepreneurs if that's not it? And then as a follow-up, what's one piece of advice you'd offer entrepreneurs who've already started? And they don't have to be fitness realm. I mean, if you want to go fitness realm, that's great, because I think there's a lot of people who want to come this direction. So I leave that to you of who you want to speak to. But aspiring entrepreneurs and already entrepreneurs, what's the advice you'd give them?
Identity. You have to have an identity when you're going into business. You can't just call yourself the business. I mean, it has to have a strong branding. Three Kings is a branding. Athletics is really what tells you what we are. So it's very important that you have an identity. I just had a conversation with a young gentleman who worked at a gym for a long time and wanted to open up his own gym. And I said, what do you want to do? And he said, well, I like the weightlifting side of things. And I said, okay, well, is it Olympic weightlifting, or is it powerlifting, or do you like to do, do you like the bodybuilding realm of things, or what are you trying to do? And he said, well, I worked for a football team for a little while, and I really liked working with the athletes. And I said, okay, so more the sport performance side of it. He said, you know what, I think that is really what I like. Ask a couple questions to yourself, figure out what you're really passionate about. I told him, I said, you might want to open up a sport performance facility, or at least make that your identity and start from there and then branch off, because that's what you're passionate about. You have an identity. People that are reaching out for sport performance are going to go there. If you just open a gym and you're running yoga and cycling and CrossFit and weightlifting and just anything, there's too many things. It's like going to a restaurant and having this massive menu of items to choose from. I'd rather go to a restaurant that has 5 main courses that they're gonna do really well. So have your identity, do it really well. And in order to do that, leading into the second question, you need to have a skill. You can't just say, I'm a personal trainer.
Right.
You need to go to physical therapy school, or you need to become a nutritionist. I went back to school and got my graduate degree and sat for my license and board exam in Washington, D.C. to become a licensed nutritionist. You have to have the skill, because you really do need a specialty to be able to provide an additional service for people and understand exercise physiology, human mechanics, nutrition, how the body works, and how everything is integrated with itself. If you're just going to be a personal trainer, it's fine, but I think if you want to grow into and develop into a more knowledgeable, more well-rounded fitness guru, so to speak, I would definitely get a skill. And if I had to do it all over again, I would become a physical therapist and then branch off of some of the new ideologies within human movement that allow people more range of motion through their joint capsule, or how to make sure that your fascia is released in order to have more pliability through the muscle, or any of these other things, how to rehab an injury, how to prevent an injury, prehab when you're working with people and how they move, making sure that you understand the best way to get them to move efficiently so they don't get injured. I think that's important. So those two things, I think having the identity and then getting a skill within the area that you're looking for they're huge. They're huge.
In your description of getting a skill, maybe think of, in some professions, it's having a niche. So like as a financial advisor, there's a lot of advisors that have a niche with like the clients that they work with. That makes it a lot easier for you to be identified, have an expertise that people are going to want to work with you. So I think that it's the same thing, just a little bit said differently, which I agree with. Which for the longest time I didn't have a niche, but my new niche is working with entrepreneurs. So it makes it a lot easier for creating content and having ideas. But then also, if you're an entrepreneur, you know where to go rather than, okay, financial advisor. What does that mean? Can you help me and try to sort through? Hanging that hat out on that skill or that niche to let people know, okay, I may be limiting who I can help, but I'm going to help those people very well, and that's going to help me within that community of people become the go-to person. And the reality of it is, you want 1,000 members. You're not trying to get 10,000. You're not trying to get 20,000. Like, there's only so many people that you can help and do a good job. So you don't need to get everybody.
Well, you don't need to get everybody. And here's a good little analogy that I had. We went to a football game, Colts game. And we were sitting in the stands, and there was like 3 or 4 of our coaches there, and we were looking around, and I said, hey, guys, take a sit back. How many people are in here? About 70,000 or so. How many of these people you think do CrossFit? I don't know, maybe 500. So there's 69,500 other people in here that haven't even had an experience with CrossFit or don't even know about it. We don't need to worry about what other businesses or other CrossFit gyms are doing. We need to worry about what we're doing and how we can help the people that haven't found it yet. Once we do that, we're building the world community within CrossFit, and there are so many people out there. We can't help 10,000. We'll lose the integrity of our training. We just can't help that many people on a smaller scale, right? We could maybe do something on a larger scale as a corporation, but that's not our goal.
Right.
That's not our goal right now.
All right, so what is the one piece of technology you couldn't live your business life without?
Well, unfortunately, it's my phone. Nowadays, with a smartphone, you do everything through your phone.
Think about that. The most important piece of technology you have is your phone. Like, we live in a day where you can run a business, start a business from a phone. Like, that's insane. And I think that should give people who are entrepreneurial a lot of excitement, that the barriers to entry to at least get started are lower. Now, you still have to have the passion, you have the skill, like have all those other things, but before, like, you couldn't even, like, it was a lot harder to just get started. So not only did you think about all those other things, getting started was hard. Now you can run a business from a phone if you have all those other things lined up. So
yeah, I think you have to. It's a one-stop shop for anything that you want to do from a technology standpoint, and you do need to try to find a balance. But you have to welcome the fact that it's there, and that, you're right, like, that is an awesome opportunity to be able to service your people quickly and create relationships quickly to be able to grow.
Right.
So you have to have it.
So you mentioned balancing accessibility. What's your time management hack? Because we can let this consume us if we want to. So how do you balance that out?
Yeah, this is a tough subject for me, because I want to work all the time to be able to help my people. The things that help me are my children. I'm a big sports guy. My boys all play soccer at a high level, and I want to watch them because I love sports. So I love watching them. And we have a 2-year-old daughter, and I got to spend a lot of time with my oldest son growing up. Even though I was doing my master's degree, he was with me a lot. My middle 2, while we were growing the business, hardly any time at all. I can't remember hardly anything that we did until about 2 years ago, which is pretty bad. And they're 11 and 10 now. But we had an opportunity to be blessed with a daughter 2 years ago, and so I'm making an emphasis to spend as much time, and she's with me all the time, whether she comes to work or with me, or I go home and put her down for a nap or read her book. And those are the things that really help me find a balance as much as I can. I still struggle with it. I'm forcing myself to go on little trips on the weekend and things like that, but I'm addicted to failure. I'm not addicted to success, because if I don't have the failures in my life, I can't grow and change and get better. So I want the challenge, and potentially having, if I'm failing in those relationships, or I'm failing with growth within the gym, or I'm failing, take the time to educate myself, or just find some me time, some alone time, that forces me to come up with a goal and a way to make that change. And so I that's something I constantly battle with on a day-to-day basis. And I think that if you're going to be a good entrepreneur, you have to be ready for that. You have to welcome that. There are levels to growth in the business, and different levels of business. If I'm happy with how many members we are and what our revenue numbers are and all that stuff, then cool, I can just go with the flow. But it's more, remember, it's not about the business to me. It's about servicing the members. I want to be able to help them. I want to be accessible. We have new people walking in the door every month. I mean, it's a CrossFit gym. When we were over at our location and it wasn't as visible, we would average maybe 4 members a month that would come through the door. Since we've been at this location, we're averaging 40 new members a month. Wow. And I have to be here for them. 440, 400, 4,000, doesn't matter. So it is tough to find a balance, but I think that the things with understanding what's most important in your life, and for me it's my family, that does help me make that time.
So as you can hear, Beats class has picked up. You've got the airdynes going high and low, so we only have a couple more questions, so that's all right. What's your secret for getting through the tough times or times of doubt? Because inevitably you're going to have those, no matter how successful you get.
Yeah, I think it's back to the addiction to failure. The tough times are welcomed. I want there to be tough times because I want to have the challenge of making them better. That's the number one thing. I think that having the support of my wife is huge. We would never be where we are without her. Having her as a stable job, working for the Department of Defense, and being a leader within a community. I think that, and at home, she's very independent, and that helps me because I'm very independent as well. So we work well together, but we each need the support of each other. And so having the challenges that we face, we want the doubt. I want the doubt. I want there to be doubt, or else I'm going to get complacent. And if you get complacent, then you're not going to grow. And we go back to sports again. I love the analogy just because I'm a sports guy. You win an NBA championship, or you win the World Series, or a state championship in high school one year, and you're coming back for another year, whatever it is, there better be doubt that you're not going to be able to win again. You better be, your first game of the season is against the team you just played in the Super Bowl the year before. You better have doubt in your mind that you could lose this game and start 0-1. They're coming for you. There's a target on your back, and it's the same thing with every business. You better have doubt that people are questioning how much time you're spending in the gym working with your people, how much you care. Are you trying to grow as a business? I want that. We welcome that.
And the final question, I think I know the answer, but one person you want to acknowledge for their impact on your journey, give them a shout out.
Well, it's my wife. It's 2 people, really. It's my wife and my mom. Okay. Because of I was in it was my mother and I growing up, and she was, did her best, and was working a lot and wasn't at home a lot in the evening. And so it was me. I started working at a young age to make money, to be able to do things and support myself. I learned work ethic at a really young age, whether it be household chores or working for my grandfather landscaping, or, I got a job when I was 14 and worked at that same facility. It was Foot Locker. I worked there for 8 years, all the way through college. And I think that the work ethic that my mother showed on a day-to-day basis to try to provide was huge. And then having my wife there to support. Everything that I do since the time I was 14 years old has been with my wife. Learning new things in life, and having her there as a support system has been massive. Those are the 2 most influential people in my life, hands down.
Okay. All right, so that gives us to the end. Class is getting ready to pick it back up some more. Let everybody know where they can find you, Three Kings Athletic. Plug all the social media stuff we can direct
people to. Thank you. 3kingsathletics.com. You can find us on Instagram at 3kingsathletics.com, number 3, kingsathletics.com. And we have our at Three Kings Youth Weightlifting Club and at Three Kings Adult Weightlifting Club if you're interested in that or want to see what we do. Those are the things. I'm on Twitter at Three Kings HQ. I'm at Three Kings HQ on Instagram. Check us out. Post some content on there, and if you're interested in coming in to see us, give us a buzz. Awesome. Shoot us an email.
I'll link to all those in the show notes on the Entrepreneur's Blueprint. So head over to entrepreneursblueprint.com. It'll be there in the show notes. Bryn, I really appreciate you taking the time, eating into class time.
Thanks for having me.
I think this is a great conversation. I think that the listeners are going to get a lot out of it, so I appreciate it, man.
Cool. Happy to help.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Tune in to the next episode.